Good morning. Going to try to make a short video this morning, and I entitled it "The Red and the Blue Trap." And this is what I see going on, and I think if we can think about it for a minute, maybe we can get out of that trap. And first, I want to take you back to what I saw during the pandemic. Okay, during the pandemic, when the lockdowns were being rolled out, and all of a sudden your rights were being suspended, and if you went to the beach, some cops might come chase you down and arrest you, because they closed the beach, and what we saw was insanity. What we saw was people literally like just losing their minds. Okay, and they didn't realize that there was a plan, that people work against them in government, and there was a plan being rolled out on them, and it involved both the right, the reds, and the blues. They were both working against you. Okay, but because people are so bound to their political ideology, a lot of them couldn't see it. So initially, with this, if we kind of look back a little bit towards when they had the pandemic, and Trump, he announces we're, closing everything for 2 weeks to stop the spread. A lot of us are like, we forget all this because we're always being manipulated by media. But we had 2 weeks to stop the spread. I think even in Florida, they started like blocking entrance into the state. There's a lot of unconstitutional rights are being violated left and right, but everybody always say, well, now is an emergency. We gotta do this and we gotta do that. Okay. And initially, the Republicans were used to roll this out. Trump, he warp speeded things. Even right here where I live, they had a big Republican rally at a big Baptist church when the days they were rolling out the shot. So they're like, we fight. First, they put a lot of pressure on you. They locked you down. They had the 6 foot, stop the spread, and then stay home, save lives. And then they, you go to a restaurant. I don't know if you remember, but you could, if you were sitting down, no, if you were sitting down, you could take your mask off. And if you stood up, you had to put it back on. And all this was going on, and everybody had lost their mind. They were all like, just doing what just following the herd, Okay, and Republicans are doing this. This is my thing about the red versus the blue and how they capture you, because you're not standing on principle. You're standing on your favorite politician. You're rooting for your team, So, and I'm going to go back to what happened here. A giant church, one of the biggest ones, they corralled them and they used them to, when the first shots came out, they turned the church into what they call a mass vax clinic. And Republicans came and they had a rally there and they celebrated. We finally got the shots. Oh, Bill Gates loves us. This is what they do. Okay. This is what they did. And people got there and they were like, they finally got it. Everything's going to be great. And the Republicans all worked together to make this happen with the churches and all the sheeples. They all lined up and they're like, yes, they're going to save us. Okay. And then they went in and the churches were used. The Republican Party was used. Because the same entity controls these parties. The same entity. It's not, you don't have like one day it's a red government, one day it's a blue government. You have one government that operates through red and blue to control you. Okay. And to violate your rights. And, so this happened. This is just like not very long in the past. Matter of fact, the same people that did that to us are still in power. We brought them back. Nobody was held accountable. We are still doing the same thing. All right. Let's get that. So I'm trying to just get you to think, man, this has happened before, and they control us. If you'll remember that Fox News was all in on it. All the media speaks in unison because all the media is controlled by the same entity. The thing that we have to do is stand up for our liberties and our rights that keep the government at bay. Okay. The Bill of Rights, the right to speak freely and not be hindered, and not be arrested for what you say, hate speech. That's what they'll call you, hate speech. Or you're an anti-Semite. We got to create some laws. And, oh yeah, the New Testament is a little anti-Semitic. Oh, what? They might get rid of that. Or there's just a lot of ways that people use tools to control you. And the Bill of Rights, which is your right to keep and bear arms, the right to speak freely, the right to not be illegally searched, are there to protect the citizens, okay? And as Republicans, which I used to be considered myself a Republican. I do not anymore. I do not associate with these two parties because I see that they are both controlled by the same thing. And I want to get sucked into that trap. I just want to stand on the principles of life, liberty, and property, the principles of the Constitution, the principles that our founding fathers brought to us to give us freedom so that we could live and not be under tyranny. Tyranny rules the day everywhere. And once we lose freedom here, it's gone forever. And what I'm seeing now is because everybody's been so trained to view everything through their red lens or their blue lens. You watch your news and you're seeing it through the red lens, and you can literally watch somebody be murdered, executed, and then they'll tell you something happens different. You can watch a gang of 6 or 7, 8 people jumping on somebody, a gang of masked men jumping on them, beating them down, spraying them in the face, taking their gun away from them, and shooting them about 9 times. But your media and these people will tell you, oh, blah, 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 he was coming to kill everybody, and you can watch a video that absolutely contradicts what they're saying. But because you are trapped in this red and blue paradigm, you don't want to turn against your team. You must be like, I'm going to be a good one. I'm Trumper. Oh, okay. This is how they control you. Meanwhile, your rights, like, you need to stand up for the truth. Whatever, instead of seeing things through red lens, blue lens, look at things through the truth. Like, what is the truth here? Block out the noise and realize that the government, okay, always is seeking more power at your expense. Things get in their way, like the Bill of Rights. That's in their way. Your right to free speech, to speak against them, that's in their way. Your right to keep and bear arms, that's in their way. Your right to not be searched, to have your own privacy, that's in their way. And that one entity of government wants to remove that. And right now they're using the red team to help remove that. And they're getting ready to create a civil war type situation where they aggravate this side and they aggravate that side, and then they bring them together for a big war or whatever. They're orchestrating it. But in the end, what they want to do is remove your rights, remove everything that our founders fought and died for to give us. We're throwing it away because we're cheering for our red team. Or they're going to throw, and if you think the blue team, whenever the blue team gets in there and they send the ATF and all their little 3-letter agencies to come for you, and to violate you, surround your house and drag you out in the street and shoot you with about 10 armed people, masked, coming to get you, and you say, oh, this ain't right. I have a right to keep and bear arms. You don't have any rights. You have already willingly gave them up. Right now you're saying, I don't have any rights. You're saying, I don't agree that these people should have rights. They shouldn't be able to carry a gun. And you are absolutely cutting your own head off right now. That's going to be used against you later. And you are following your tribal mentality, and you are just like cheering for your team. And you don't realize that they're working together. They're not enemies. They're no more enemies than the Clintons and the Bushes. And we have been trained to do that so that we won't see truth. We won't look into a situation to see what is right, what is wrong. We just look and see, well, what did my red team say today? Maybe I should turn on Fox and see what they're saying today so I know what kind of talking points to say. And this is going to be our downfall. And right now, we're watching this thing unfold. We've done had 2 times when people are just literally just murdered right in front of us by armed government agents with masks on and no identification, and we're like, yeah. Some people are like, yeah, they get what they deserve, right? So they ain't, you F around and find out, and they have no idea that that's fixing to be them. That everything you're coming in agreement with something that violates the principles of the founding of this country. It violates human rights. And you're coming in agreement with something that is planned to be used against you. It's not red team versus blue team. They are against you. They work together. It's a government. It's a one unit. And the thing that gets in their way is your life, liberty, and property. They have a vision of a world that is controlled, They have a vision. The people that control things, the people that pull the strings of these politicians, the people that really run things, that control the banks, that control the politicians, they have a vision of a world without you in it. They think, like Bill Gates said, we gotta get rid of some of these people. There's too many of you out there. There's too many of you people sucking up his precious oxygen. And we can reduce that number through some vaccines and different things. That's what he said. He tells you basically to your face. And he's invited to the White House because they all work together. And they're working together against you. And right now, you are like, yeah, come and get me. Send those masked men to come to my neighborhood. Yeah. We should not keep them bear arms anymore. Oh, that was a bad idea. It's crazy. People are acting crazy. They've lost their way. Stand on those principles, life, liberty, and property. Stand on these principles that you have a right to free speech. You have a right to protest. You have a right to voice your concern. You have a right to be armed and dangerous. Because, the Second Amendment was not there so you could go shoot squirrels. It was there to hold back a government from being tyrannical and taking away your liberty. Because once a government reaches a certain point, and then they have more power, more guns than anything that you could ever imagine. You can't fight the government when it's coming after you in a full force. Throughout history, watching videos of the Holocaust is one of the biggest things is change who I am, to make me think, like, how does this happen? How do people let a government get like this? How suddenly does a government turn on its people like this? How come neighbors are turning in neighbors? How does this happen? How do people take and lead their and let people just get on trains leading to their absolute destruction? How do they let these camps be built? How does this happen? How did this happen? How do they let a camp be built that's there to exterminate people? How did they allow this to happen? Okay, in our country, our job is to hold the government accountable. Our job is not to be bootlickers. Our job as citizens of this country is to hold them accountable. Our job is not to cheer for your red team and not to cheer for your blue team. Your job is to hold this beast of a government that controls so much stuff and can terminate your life without due process right now is what it looks like. See, when you agree to that video, like if you hadn't watched it and you're commenting, you should stop what you're doing and watch it. And imagine that being you or somebody else in any of these situations, that due process and the right to exist and the right to resist and the right to speak out is your fundamental right. And if you agree to the tyranny for others, you're agreeing to it for yourself in the future. And believe me, that is the plan. The plan is not, we're gonna just get these lefties and we're gonna do this to them and it's these illegals, that the plan is, and you can believe me or not, there's gonna be either the Obamas or somebody's coming in next, right? And suddenly, you done signed away all your rights. You done cheered on the masked federal agents that can come around and can't be resisted or you get executed. You're like when the ATF comes and say, you know what, you don't need guns anymore. We've determined that was old and this is new. And so all these rights that you thought you had, you don't have. And now these 3-letter agencies that we used to know, like, hey, we can't trust these 3-letter agencies. Now we're like, yeah, this is the greatest 3-letter agency because our orange man is in charge. And we're losing sight of the big picture. And you think that this is going to go on indefinitely. It's always going to be your guy in charge of the government. And that's not the way it works. And the government always does. They build up power and they use it against you. And January 6th is a good example because a lot of the things they used to do to do that to the January 6th people were things that the Republicans cheered on during Bush, and they're like, the government needs more power. We need Patriot. We need all these things. Okay. All those things, these tools are all planned to be used against you. The thing is, you got to view your government as a one unit whose power has to be kept in check so that they are there to work for you and to guard your liberty and your life, your liberty, and your property. That is the Declaration of Independence states that is the reason for government. That men and women, the only reason that we would create such a beast as a government is to guard our life, liberty, and property. to protect it so that some other entity can't get really powerful, like some dude in the neighborhood gets a lot of guns and he wants to come take your life, liberty, and property. That we create a government to keep an even playing field to protect our life, liberty, and property, to guard it. That is their whole mission. And if the government steps outside of that mission and becomes tyrannical, that it's actually our duty, as it said and stated in the Declaration of Independence, to change that government, to bring it back under control. Because governments always want to turn into something akin to Kim Jong-un, where everybody is a slave and nobody's allowed to say anything. And if you do something against the government, they will take you to a concentration camp, or they might take your family. Tyranny rules the world all over. America has a different set of rules where we say, government, you work for us. You're not a king. You're not royalty. You work for us. That we're ruled by the rule of law. We're ruled by the Constitution. And we're not ruled by the ever-changing dictates of man. But when that happens, okay, you're no longer, so when, we're giving up everything that people have fought and died for years. Ever since our founding. They always say they're fighting for your freedom. They're fighting, say these people are fighting for your freedom. And now here you are willingly wanting to give it all up because it's the orange team or the red team. Anyway, I'm trying to reel you back in so that we don't fall victim to that. Have principles. If you were for the Second Amendment day before yesterday, you should be for the Second Amendment today. If you're for free speech, try to stay for free speech. Don't, these principles are what separates us. That's why, and we saw them all violated during COVID. We saw pastors being drug out and arrested for having church. Okay, we saw tyranny at work, and it was working through the red team and the blue team. And so instead of looking at everything as red or blue, start seeing things in a black and white. Is this right or is this wrong? Where is this? What's going on here? Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thanks for listening. Hasta luego.